Hello, my wonderful souls. Today I would like to discuss with you sexual assault trauma, as well as different myths surrounding rape, how such adverse event may affect your mind, is it even possible to accept it and enjoy sex again, build happy relationships, feel beautiful and sexy, and much more. In my next video, I would like to talk about child sexual abuse separately. So if any type of sexual harassment happened in your childhood, it will also be useful for you. Subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out. Sex crimes often stay behind closed doors, and only a tiny percentage is reported to police. So we only have a small idea of the actual level of rapes around the world and who exactly is subjected to them. There are many reasons why people don't report their experiences of sexual molestation or assaults to the authorities, and often even hide it from their friends and families. One of the common reasons is guilt, self-blame, feeling that you provoked the situation somehow. For example, you invited the perpetrator to have a drink in your house. So you may think that you kinda promised sex by doing so, but of course not. But we'll come back to it later, what consent really means. Another reason, many people that don't realize they have been assaulted. Well, this can happen with children, of course, or if you were drugged and raped while unconscious, or maybe it was oral sex only and you think because there was no penetration, it doesn't count as rape. Among other barriers, a lack of understanding where to go for help, police mistrust, fear of interrogations, cultural or language obstacles if, for instance, you were assaulted in another country while on holiday, or maybe you're financially dependent on the rapist. It's important to emphasize that sexual assault is not limited to women and girls only. Every year, many men and boys are sexually traumatized. If you're a guy and you went through sexual abuse, this video is also for you. Stay with us. Regardless of your age or gender, the aftermath of sexual violence goes far beyond just physical harm. The trauma of rape can be devastating, making you feel constant fear, shame, suffer from flashbacks and nightmares. Maybe you feel lonely, especially in situations when no one believes you or blames you. You probably no longer see this world as a safe place. You find it difficult to trust others. You may even gaslight yourself, doubting your own judgments, your memories, your self-esteem, your ability to make decisions. You may think of yourself as dirty or damaged goods. Thoughts of romantic relationships may cause huge anxiety or complete rejection of dating. Physical intimacy is impossible for you or triggers very mixed feelings. It's important to understand that what you're experiencing is a normal reaction to such trauma. And if you were raped, but on the surface you don't exhibit symptoms of psychotrauma, you just continue your life as if nothing had happened, I would like to tell you that this reaction is also normal. Your calmness shouldn't diminish the importance of what happened to you. In your case, the dissociation mechanism is at play, but I will also explain a bit later what it is. I work with sexual violence on all sides, with people who were subjected to it, as well with the perpetrators and legal system. And personally, I'm healing a lot of sexual trauma myself. So I sincerely would like to share with you some tips and insights that I hope will help you accept what happened, restore your sense of security and trust in people, learn to heal your pain, and move on with your life not as a broken soul, but as a whole person, despite the fact your story has this dark chapter. Welcome to Universe Soul. My name is Karina, and I'm very happy to see you here. First, let's dive into some myths. The first myth is, well, it's surely clear who is capable of rape, that these people behave in a specific way. It's easy to see them and avoid them. In fact, there is no generic type that fits all rapists, same as with pedophiles, serial killers, or emotional abusers. So you can't really recognize a rapist. And many of them seem completely normal, friendly, charming, and non-threatening. So if you think that only strange or aggressive people rape, that's not the case. And most often victims are assaulted by someone they knew, whom they trusted. And even if it was a stranger, then most likely they tried to win you over. For example, pretended they need help with something, like Ted Bundy did. So predicting your own rape is rather difficult. The second myth, if you didn't resist, then you wanted it. Classic, isn't it? In fact, only because you laid quietly and you didn't run away doesn't mean anything. I'll tell you more. Even if your body responded to that sex and you experienced physical arousal, it also doesn't mean anything. It's just a technical reaction of your body to some sexual encounter. In psychotherapy, I often discuss this with rape survivors because people, especially those who achieved an orgasm, they're totally confused. But again, I will return to this a bit later in this video. The next myth is that people who were raped provoked it either by wearing some provocative clothes or by some flirtatious behavior. In reality, rapists, they choose victims based on their vulnerability, not on how seductive they are. Many rapes occur in countries where women are very modest and cover their bodies. And even if we assume that some girl wore a short red dress and got drunk, it doesn't mean she invites sex. If she says no, it means no. If she said nothing, it's also a no. The red dress as the reason to attack is the perpetrator's excuse, his lack of control, his misunderstanding of own sexual impulses and what he really needs to do about them. I say he, but can be she as well. Women are also capable of sexual abuse, especially with regards to children. Of course, it's a small percentage, but still, I just want you to be aware that women are not immune to becoming perpetrators. Coming back to the myth, if someone ever accuses you that you asked to be raped, it's their distorted perception of this world. No one has the right to your body except yourself, no matter how you're dressed. And ideally, any person, even during sex they agreed to, should still have the right to stop it and leave if they feel like it. The fourth myth, a rape on a date is not a rape, because the one who was abused knew where he or she was going and understood how it could end, or a prostitute can be raped. There is no equal sign between date and sex, and prostitution doesn't imply that women are ready to sleep with anyone, anytime. A girl or a boy who sells their body doesn't owe anyone. Yes, sometimes they take money and they agree to have sex, but it's still their body. We always live in the present moment. The past and the future essentially don't exist. So it only matters what is happening right now. So you have the right to say no right now, even if you had 200 partners in the past, or you promise sex but change your mind. Selling sex or being flirty doesn't guarantee sex. It's important to realize this. The next myth, if you already had sex with this person in the past, that's not rape. Just because you previously consented to sex with someone doesn't give them unlimited access to your body. If your spouse, boyfriend, your ex forces you to have sex against your will, that's rape, that's harassment. Swap the word sex for tea. If you offer someone tea and they tell you no, you won't push them to have it. If the person ignored you, you won't force them to drink tea either. Maximum you will ask again. If the person said yes and then changed their mind halfway, you won't pour tea down their throat. If the person is sleeping, you won't climb on top of them with tea. If they drank tea with you once or a few times in the past, this doesn't mean that they want tea right now. Maybe they want coffee or a glass of champagne. So why is it so clear with tea but not with sex? And the last myth is that rape is something brutal, after which you are all covered in blood or your nose is broken. But if your rapist stroked you gently or whispered many pleasant, lovely words, then that's not rape. Of course, that's not true. It is rape if you didn't give consent. Pedophiles, for example, very often behave calmly, politely. They groom children with sweet and lovely messages that what they have is true love, and the child was chosen because he or she is special, unique, talented, not like everybody else. There are 3 phases a person goes through after being assaulted. The first phase occurs immediately after the attack and usually lasts from a few days to a few weeks. Here you can display many different reactions to what happened. A pronounced reaction is when you are emotionally open, you are agitated, hysterical, you cry, you panic. Usually people expect this kind of behavior, and in case you are calm or distant, you behave like nothing happened, or everything is fine, or you don't want to talk about it, then others, they love to devalue the attack, not realizing that this appearance of composure is also a state of shock. All of these reactions are normal, and you are entitled to any of them. Studies show that almost all rape survivors have symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder a month after the rape. One of the most common symptoms of PTSD is the state of dissociation, when you distance yourself from the traumatic event. It's like you are trying to see the attack objectively by building this mental wall between your consciousness and your memories in order to somehow cope with this experience psychologically, especially if you don't get any professional help. Dissociation also helps you to escape, avoid, or get rid of fear, terror, anxiety, dread, painful memories, unpleasant thoughts, painful sensations. But here you need to ask yourself, is dissociation really helpful in the present? In the past, yes, it protected you from the horror and hurt of whatever was happening in your life. This helped you to survive. This was your nervous system protecting you. That's great. But now, today, when you're trying to heal, what does it cost you to dissociate? Is it making your life richer in the long term or not really? By suppressing your trauma, do you feel liberated or not really? What will really help you is processing your past and present reality with flexibility, openness, and curiosity. If you turn numb again, notice the numbness, observe it, accept it. One of the hardest things you learn in psychotherapy is to sit with your uncomfortable feelings, letting them wash over you like a stream of water and still be okay. Also, I would like to highlight that on top of the primary trauma you got after the assault, you might get additional ones like people's insensitivity, lack of support, rudeness towards your case. For example, when police officers laugh at you or they don't take your statements seriously, they can tell you that the rape wasn't real because the criminal is your boyfriend, not some psycho in the alley at night. They may tell you that you need to stop obsessing with catching the offender. You disregard their precious time and resources, that they have more important things to do. In addition, there may be mockery at school or at work, smirks on the face of your rapist if they manage to avoid the punishment and you still see them very often. Rumors and gossips, jokes, distorted facts on the internet, if this is now a well-known case that received attention in the media, all these are forms of additional trauma. During the next phase, you try to resume your normal life, but inside you're still bleeding. Here too, a variety of coping mechanisms come into play. Minimization is when you say, everything is fine, or it could have been worse. I could have been killed. Dramatization, on the contrary, is when you can't stop talking about the attack. It dominates your life, your personality, and everything around you. Or you run away from it all, you change the city, your appearance, relationships, or you constantly analyze what happened. Why did he or she do it? Why chose you? What did they feel? Do they regret? Do they play it over and over in their head? There are many psychological problems that appear during this phase. Constant anxiety, mood swings, feelings of helplessness, fear. You may develop phobias, depression, rage, sleep problems, nightmares, insomnia, eating problems, nausea, vomiting, binge eating, withdrawal from friends, family, activities, reluctance to leave your house or go to places that remind you of the attack, sexual problems. Often at this stage, people around you slightly forget the details. They move on with their lives, exhibit less sympathy, they ask less questions, so you may feel abandoned. It's very important to understand that you are in this intermediate episode of healing, and sometimes it can last for several years. You might turn to self-harming behaviors to cope with the overwhelming emotions. By the way, I have a video on self-harm. Please check it out if that's relevant. I hope it will help you. I will leave the link in the description and here above. Self-harm includes blows, burns, hair pulling, scratching, cuts, and much more. For those who don't self-harm, it may seem strange that someone could intentionally hurt themselves. And even for those who do self-harm, this can be also tricky to understand. Why am I doing this? Am I crazy? There are two major reasons for self-harm: to feel more or to feel less. By inflicting bodily harm, you distract yourself from anxiety, depression, anger, disappointment, grief, or if your emotional state is blunted, then at least you feel something. You're still alive. The choice to stop self-harm should be yours and only yours, and not because you feel guilty, you promised your family to stop it, or you're afraid of the punishment and so on. You yourself must come to the realization that harming yourself no longer helps you as before. You have found new, much healthier ways to untangle your intertwined feelings. Phase 3 after rape is when you consciously accept this difficult experience and you integrate it into your life. Sexual assault at this stage is no longer your main focus, and guilt, shame, depression, they heal properly. You're able to recognize and eliminate your negative coping strategies. For example, you no longer turn to alcohol to get through the days. Your memories of the attack are no longer as strong, overwhelming and scary as they used to be. You're finally moving on. To recover from sexual assault trauma, you must first make the decision to heal, commit to this process, and make the necessary changes to your lifestyle and the way you interact with people around you. An important step is reconnecting with your body. In many ways, rape makes your body an enemy, something that has been polluted, something you can hate or ignore. Rape at the cellular level entered your body and stuck there, and it creates a huge tension in the body, whether you admit it or not. By reconnecting with your body, you release pain, you gain the safety feeling you lost, your confidence increases. It's easier for you to develop resilience to other problems. You can achieve this through movement, sports, walking, yoga, Tai Chi, dancing, martial arts. All this can be very healing. It will help you relax and regain a sense of control, and you will grow, become better and stronger with each day. It's time to show the deepest love for your body, not to hate it. Often the initial emotion after sexual violence is to forbid yourself to feel pleasure, to neglect your body. After all, it's through your body somebody hurt you so much. But this is not right. So love your body even more than before the attack happened. Cherish it. Understand what relaxes you, what brings you pleasure. Rediscover your body. Pay attention to what you eat and how you sleep. Self-care is a vital part for overcoming sexual trauma. Another critical part of your healing journey is admitting that the sexual abuse you experienced was not your fault. Rapists, they often manipulate the victims into believing that they deserved to be raped. But this wasn't your fault. You're not the offender in that situation. It was not you who tore off the dress and exploited someone's body without consent. Forgive yourself for being in that situation, but leave the guilt where it should be, in the heart of your rapist. This poison is for them. They need to realize how limited and primitive they are. Try to reconnect with your inner child if you find it especially hard to feel compassion for yourself. The next important step is setting boundaries. Healthy boundaries mean you are using your energy consciously. You say no to things and people you don't want in your life, and you say yes to what is truly important to you, what interests you, what inspires you. Having healthy boundaries doesn't mean you demand respect and personal space. It also doesn't mean you alienate yourself from everyone else. What it really means is that you have a compass that helps you navigate your relationships, your sexuality, your values in romance, career, religion, family life, and so on. An example of a good boundary would be when someone touches your personal stuff and you don't like it. You don't scream at them to get lost, but you explain that it makes you feel violated. You feel like your privacy is devalued, that you feel stressed when they go through your possessions like it belongs to them. You clarify you need things that belong only to you. You having boundaries won't affect another person with healthy boundaries, and in fact they probably will be happy to see you trying to establish them. When people's values lie around concepts such as trust, love, integrity, creativity, honesty, compassion, awareness, they will respect your right to assert your needs and opinions because they respect their own boundaries. They know who they are and where they are heading, and they want the same for you. But if you feel like you are not being heard and every time you communicate your feelings to someone, you just hit a brick wall, it's because you are interacting with someone who lacks their own boundaries, who is very confused or controlling, who has unreasonable expectations of you, who totally neglects the fact that this relationship turned toxic and requires either a significant positive change or termination. As I already mentioned, it can be extremely difficult to admit that you have been raped, especially if that's someone you know too well and you didn't expect it. On top of it, stigma is also attached. What will be the family's reaction? Will they criticize you? Will they help you? What will police do? What will society call you? What if the rapist is a famous actor? It seems easier to downplay what happened or keep it a secret. But when you remain silent, you reinforce your victim position and you deny yourself healing. So reach out to someone you trust. Despite your fear to put yourself in a vulnerable position, it will set you free. Your best bet is someone who will definitely support you, someone who is empathetic, calm. If you don't have someone you trust, talk to a therapist or call a mental health helpline. You're welcome to write to me, but don't stay in this abyss of helplessness and isolation. You do have strength qualities that will help you get through these difficult times. But when we're alone, when we keep everything to ourselves, we forget about it. We gaslight ourselves that I shouldn't have left the house that day, or I'm too sensitive, I don't deserve to be heard, it's not worth it, no one cares about me. And even if you understand that you're not the one to blame, you can still struggle with a whole list of negative feelings. These feelings, they can arise even years after the incident, so it's important to give them an outlet, either in the literal sense, talking to someone, sharing your pain, asking for help, or in a figurative sense, pouring your fears on paper, burning the clothes you were wearing that day. You can express yourself creatively through music or art. If painful memories overwhelm you, tell yourself, these are just memories. This is not my reality now. It's over. Now I'm safe. Yes, I feel panic, fear, upset because I remember the assault, but when I look around, I see that I'm safe. Imagine you see the assault images on a TV screen. Turn the volume down or turn it back on, then turn everything off, let it all disappear. And alternatively, create a new screen next to it in which you are healed, happy, successful. See yourself in this radiant energy, make it louder, brighter. Ask yourself the following questions. How am I different now from the person who has been abused? What opportunities do I have today that I didn't have back then? Who can I turn for support? How do I like to spend my free time? Where do I want to direct my energy right now? Is it helpful? What are my strengths? Why am I already enough? Should you directly confront your abuser? Why you? Many never want to see the perpetrator again, and they become very nervous if they see them, for example, in court. But sometimes people put very high hopes on having this frank conversation, imagining how the rapist admits all his sins, fills in some gaps, and begs for forgiveness. Sometimes you have these thoughts because you want to hurt him back, unleash your anger, show him you're over it, you're strong, unbreakable, you're not scared. In reality, these meetings are rather a dead end than your path to liberation, and I will explain why. Rapists almost never admit they were wrong, that they inflicted pain on you and now deeply regret it. These people have problems with empathy. Of course, anyone can develop empathy and evolve, but most likely it will take a long time. Maybe yes, someday he will write you a letter containing sincere remorse, but usually it's rare for a rapist to offer you anything in return other than denial and counter-criticism. Usually they claim sex was consensual and you lied. And their denial can trigger your self-doubt. You might start asking yourself, maybe it's just me, I misunderstood the situation, I sent signals, I got too drunk, I made a mistake, I shouldn't have caused trouble. And if for any reason he avoided being sentenced, then for sure you won't get the answers you're looking for. But then, how can you reclaim your power? You reclaim your power by deciding to recover from his toxicity. It's the realization that he has no power over what happens next in your life. The healing doesn't come from him, it comes from you. It comes from a support network and relationships with other survivors, from spirituality and your understanding of life process, from self-development and social activities. It comes from a relationship with a new person who shows you what can be different. It comes from your control over your body, from your dreams and achieving goals that are not related to the assault. It's working through the trauma. No matter what the rapist says to you, you don't depend on him in any way. Yes, a terrible thing happened to you, but you are still an incredible, beautiful, worthy, wonderful person, and you don't need to go to the abuser to make sure he also thinks so. A couple of words on forgiveness. Don't force yourself to forgive if inside you there is a storm of anger and hatred. The best way to get out of this state is to concentrate on improving your health and your overall well-being. If everyone around you says to you, you should forgive or let go, sometimes these are just empty words or words that stress you even more because it creates a certain point you must reach in order to become happy. And if you're not there yet, then you're trapped. Forgiveness is a gift you make to yourself above all, but you shouldn't force it, especially at the very beginning of your recovery. Believe me, forgiveness will come to you when you're ready for it. If your body exhibited some form of sexual arousal at the time of the attack, this doesn't equal to your consent. Arousal or achieving an orgasm during unwanted sexual intercourse may confuse you whether you consented or not. But a genital sexual response can occur even if you're completely disconnected or disgusted in your mind. Physical arousal is not the same as consent, pleasure, acceptance, or desire. You need to understand that during rape, as with any other significant stress, the body's fight or flight reaction is triggered, meaning that all your body's systems become activated to help you survive. The genitals have a huge number of nerve endings. They are part of the nervous system, same as your increased breathing, rapid pulsing, sweating. That's all. If you feel that you experienced pain or disgust, then it was so. While some become completely closed to the idea of sex and avoid it at all costs, others may become hypersexual after being raped. This behavior is not the result of your promiscuity. Again, it's a normal reaction to what happened. This is the result of your pain for which there is no other way out, and where most likely there was unsuccessful communication with the police, medical professionals, the legal system, and other sources of help after the attack. Maybe it's hard for you to say what happened. And all this meaningless sex is your narrative without words, your attempt to reunite your body and emotions to feel at least something again. This can play as a quick way to get pleasure and happiness. After all, sex is a source of relaxation and satisfaction. But it can also be a form of self-harm, especially if you're intentionally looking for abusive sex. It can be your desire to prove to yourself or everyone else that all men are bastards. Or it's an attempt to take control of your body, that only you decide with whom and when. Or maybe you want to feel attractive, desirable, worthy, needed. It can be your attempt to face your fear of sex and stop being afraid of it. Or it's hard for you to say no, you want to please others, or you want to avoid even more problems. We always need to dig deeper why people engage in reckless sex, especially after being sexually assaulted, and not jump to conclusions. If you are asexual after the attack, can you ever enjoy sex again? It's a matter of trust, really, a sense of security. It's about achieving emotional connection with someone prior to any physical intimacy. It's the exploration of your body and what it likes. It's the lack of pressure to agree to sex. It's the ability to say no and be heard. It's setting your boundaries. It's discovering yourself from a new side, seeing your authentic sexuality. When do you feel especially beautiful and sexy? What attracts you in other people? What kind of sex would be ideal for you right now? Maybe just a massage is more than enough, and that's great. You don't have to offer more. It's your sincere answer to the question why you want or don't want intimacy and what it offers you. Asexuality is a spectrum, and there's nothing you have to fix. Just observe your feelings and live in the present moment. What is sexual consent really? Consent is the desire of all parties to participate in sex, and it should be communicated very clearly and freely every time you have sex. You shouldn't have any doubts whether another person agreed to sex or whether you agreed to it. Most importantly, it's reversible. You're allowed to leave anytime. An other person can do the same without any obstruction. If you agree to one thing, it doesn't mean you agreed to something extra automatically. If you feel your boundaries have been invalidated, you are unsure, pressured, pushed into something, you are not in the flow, you can't leave, that is not consent. Only you should get the final say what happens to your body. How can you help your loved one recover from sexual trauma? If your wife, partner, brother, sister, friend, or someone else you love deeply has been assaulted, it can evoke painful emotions on all ends and take a heavy toll on your relationship. You may feel angry, frustrated, desperate to get revenge, but your loved one needs your patience and support more than anything else, not another level of aggression and violence. Tell them you still love them, that you understand that the attack wasn't their fault. Nothing they did or didn't do could have provoked it. Let your loved one go at their own pace. Don't force them to open up or keep retelling the story or pretend like your relationship is exactly the same as before. These change. It's very unpleasant, yes, but you're here for them. Let them know you're ready to listen when they want to talk. Encourage your loved one to seek help, but don't pressure them into anything. Just lay options in front of them, but let them make the final decision. If this is your romantic partner, be empathetic and cautious regarding physical intimacy. Don't rush into anything. If you want to hug them, ask permission. Understand that it will probably take some time before they want full sex intercourse. The calmer, more relaxed and focused you are, the better you will be able to help your loved one. And manage your own stress and seek support from others. Your mental health is also important. Thank you for joining me today. Please like this video, feel free to share or comment below, and subscribe to my channel if you wish to learn more about psychology, human mind, relationships, mental health, and much more. You might discover yourself from a new perspective, or other people's motivations will become clearer to you. Maybe you're striving for a sense of belonging and warm, supportive community. This channel is for you then. For now, I wish you the strength to leave all chaos behind you and find harmony you deserve. Bye, my wonderful souls.